Welcome, everybody. This is Penn Street with Aftersight podcast. And I hope everybody's well and going into the Thanksgiving holiday with some wonderful plans. And please be safe during your holiday plans. Today we have a special guest, Alice George, and I have known Alice for a very long time. And Alice has not only been a listener of Audio Information Network of Colorado for a longer than she's known me. She also sat on the board for about 6 years. And so I feel like Alice really helped transition the of how we listen and what we listen to and was very beneficial to that process when she sat on the board. So Alice, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Wonderful. Alice, like many of us, has lots of hats. She was part of the Lions Club International for a very, very long time. Alice was the one who actually got me into Lions. I had met Alice when I was working for a nonprofit out of Fort Collins, and she introduced me to the Lions, and I joined the Lions in Estes Park, Colorado. And then when I moved down to Loveland, I joined Alice's club. So that was a wonderful experience. And I'm still in Lions, and that would never have happened if Alice hadn't introduced me to that. And I know, Alice, you're not really involved with the Lions, but boy, did you put in your many, many, many years with that and helping, people in Colorado who are blind and visually impaired with that. So do you miss the Lions? I know you're really still busy in your world, but
I do miss the Lions, and especially some friends that I made in the Lions Club, and I keep in touch with them a couple times throughout the year.
Yeah. And Alice, so you have been visually impaired for most of your life. I can't remember. Could you share a little bit about your vision loss and even your hearing loss?
Yes. I was born with a very rare eye disease called Peters anomaly, and that includes congenital glaucoma and calcium patches or opacities on the cornea. So it's the glaucoma and congenital corneal condition that's created my blindness. I've been legally blind since birth, and then it's been a degenerative eye condition throughout my life. So there's been various times I lost large chunks of vision because of complications to surgery to control the glaucoma, or just the progression of the glaucoma itself and the corneal condition. So now I'm at the point that I don't have any vision in one eye. Instead, I have a prosthetic eye. And then my remaining eye has very, very little vision, just a little more than light vision. When they test my vision, it's like counting fingers 1 foot away from my face.
Oh, wow. Okay. And did it affect your hearing, or is that a different issue?
My hearing loss is a different issue.
Oh, okay.
My hearing loss is due to chronic ear infections as a child and teenager that could not be controlled, and then having various hearing surgeries that added to the hearing loss.
Wow. Yeah, I know, because I know with myself, my hearing is so important to me. So to add that other layer, of a barrier of your surroundings to have that hearing loss is just, it really is frightening to me. And you've always just been such a great advocate, not only for yourself, but for others, not just with vision loss, but with hearing loss. Like I know when I've been to different events with you, you advocated for, being closer to the speakers and having, other ways of getting that information versus just hearing it. Like I noticed at the last few things that I've been to at some of the big conventions that they actually had hearing devices so that people could hear the speakers better. And I'm sure that you had a big part in that. So, yeah.
And sometimes, particularly in noisy areas and large crowds, hearing really is a bigger problem than the lack of vision.
Yeah, and I've heard other people say that it's easier to maneuver through the world without sight than without hearing, which is incredible. Well, Alice, I know you've been part of Audio Information Network of Colorado for a long, long time. How did you connect with AINC and why did you become a listener?
Well, I first became involved sometime around 2000. I can't tell you exactly when and where, but it was when I met David Dawson, the director, someplace, and he got me involved, and I became a listener. And then I also became a volunteer. And at that point, my volunteering included doing some outreach in the Loveland area primarily, but also I wrote some articles for newspapers and for local newsletters. And he also got me involved in Lions.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, he was part of the reason, not the total reason. One of the Loveland Lions also coached me into becoming a member. So between the two, I became involved in Lions. And so a lot of my articles went to Lions clubs and newsletters of trying to get Lions clubs to support AINC.
Yeah. Yeah, you were the state, I might get the title wrong, but the state vision chair for Lions in Colorado, which you did it a little bit sneakily, but made sure that I followed in those footsteps. And I still remain the chair, and not doing as good a job as you did on any level, but you really, I remember seeing those articles in the Main Lioner, which is the name of the newsletter that goes out. I think quarterly is when it goes out from you. And I also know that you helped write grants and things like that, so that clubs were involved as much as they felt they could be. I always feel like they could be a little more involved, but.
Yes, I thought so too. But I did my best to educate them about AINC and seek their support. And she said some did participate and supported AINC.
Yeah, and some of them still do. And I know it's because of you that they've been longtime supporters and they continue to do that. So that's wonderful. Do you remember sort of why it was so important of what David was doing with this, new, kind of new company and new nonprofit, and this sort of really crazy idea of reading the newspapers?
Well, there was no other source for getting the local news from local newspapers throughout the state. And he created the radio reading service of the Rockies, its original name, for that purpose, to make all of the local newspapers available to people in the audio format. And from there expanded to magazines, consumer information, retail ads, grocery ads, children's materials, and then later into Spanish materials.
Yeah.
But as I said, with all of the audio reading, audio materials available, there was nothing that made it available for people to get the local news.
Yeah. Which is really just incredible to me that he saw this need and made it happen. And I mean, we still have, over 250 volunteers that do that same, do pretty much exactly what they did back then, right? Is
Yes.
read it. And that's one of the things we hear a lot that's so beautiful about AINC is that it's the human voice. It's not, a computer generated voice, that it's actually a human coming into their homes. And I know that over the years, AINC has really changed on how they broadcast their information. How do you have a memory of how David was able to keep up with sort of the changing of the technology that was going on? Because it seems like it happened pretty quickly.
It did. And when I first began listening, we used the little iPods where the information was recorded and placed on the iPods, and that was the real techie stuff at that time. And the primary way for listening to AINC programming was on these large receivers that we had set on a table inside our homes, plugged into an outlet.
That's right.
Yes, and could only listen to a program as it was being read and recorded by the volunteer.
Wow.
And then from there, it became information on demand, where one could access it by telephone and then listen to the newspaper or the information wanted to listen to, whatever day or time I wished to do so.
Yeah.
And that was really an advancement. Great. That was terrific. I didn't have to tune into the receiver at 1:00 on Wednesday afternoon to hear the Loveland news because I was living in Loveland at the time.
Yeah.
And then from there, it advanced to one could get the audio information program on their computer, could be downloaded into whatever reader that one was using as a podcast onto your device. And then we could get it on our cell phones. We can still do it today on our cell phones or on audio on demand with a landline phone or on the cell phone. Oh, it's just blossomed.
Yes.
And
yes.
now to have the internet receivers that just so clear and can receive various places that could never get the reception in the past.
Yeah, I remember when I first became a listener, and I remember it was when I was working at the nonprofit in Fort Collins, and I think a group of us went to Boulder, and you were with us, and you were on the board, and you gave us a tour of the studios and where the volunteers read, and just sort of gave an overview of how it all worked. And I met David. And at that time, I was living in Estes Park, and David was so excited to have me sort of beta test some of the new technology in Estes Park, because one of the things David was so passionate about was to bring AINC to everybody in Colorado. And the people that were in the rural areas and the mountain areas were having an even more difficult time getting access.
That's right.
Yeah. And I remember calling him from my home, and David, it doesn't work. Okay, well, go to the south face. Do you have a south facing window? Okay. Yeah. Nope, it still doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, it would come through, but it was very grainy and wasn't super great quality. But he was so excited to have somebody in the mountains that could kind of give him, feedback on on how to get it. And man, and look now, it's like, you have, our Alexa dot smart speakers, and you just, plug them in and tell her, Alexa, play, the Loveland Reporter Herald, and boom, she she
Mhm.
plays it. Like how
Mhm.
what a difference
Yes, it is.
over the time. And it's still, just something that I really, really enjoy listening to. Do you still listen to the newspaper here in Loveland, even though you don't live up here?
I do occasionally, to keep up with what's going on, but
Wow.
not on a regular basis.
Wow. What do you listen to the most, do you feel?
Well, I like to listen to the newspaper, the general news of what's happening
Mm,
in the town, the events, the news. What's the city council doing? What new buildings are going up? What's been torn down?
right.
The obituaries.
Yeah.
Um, just all that general information. I'm not looking for employment. I'm beyond
Yeah.
uh, employment age. I'm retired and have no desire to go back to work. Uh, I'm not looking for housing, so I'm looking for the news stories.
Like the current, like what's the current, what's going on in your community. So
Yes,
that
yes.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, thanks for sharing like the history, your history with us, and also the history of just AINC in general. And for those listening, you can go onto our website, and we have a really incredible landing page where you can see the entire history from day one, 30 years ago, to now. And it has some wonderful articles and photos and text that you can listen to. And you go straight to our website, AIN Colorado backslash 30 years. And the 30 is actually the numbers 30. And then, of course, you spell out Colorado. So, and you can also access it from, our homepage, which is the AIN Colorado. But yeah, it's, Colorado Gives is coming up in just a few weeks, and we're excited. We have quite a few people that have already scheduled their donations. So I feel like it's going to be a very successful year of giving for AINC. So, Alice, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. And you've been such a big part of our history, and an incredible listener. And don't hesitate to give us feedback. If even though you're retired, you can still, we still want to hear from you. And if there's something that, you know, you want to hear that we're not doing, definitely reach out. And that goes for everybody out there. If there's something that you want, because now with like Alice said, technology has moved so far ahead, and we it's easy for us to bring in a new podcast or a new newspaper or something that's out there that we're not getting access to. So, well, Alice, thank you again so much for joining us today. Do you have any Thanksgiving thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Well, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure serving on the board of AINC and just being a volunteer and just knowing the people at AINC as well as using the services. AINC is a wonderful organization, provides a very worthwhile and needed service. And there's no other source out there for getting the daily newspapers, local news, and the other information the AINC provides. And there's so many ways to obtain the information. You have many, many choices.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to please sign up for it and use it if you're not already.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Alice. And everybody out there, be well and be safe, and take some time to Be nice to somebody today.